7 real freak show legends you won't believe existed. There was a time, not too long ago, when the world's strangest people weren't on television or social media. They were under a tent. Beneath the flicker of gas lamps and the echo of the carnival organ, thousands gathered, not to learn, not to understand, but to stare. These were the freak shows of the 19th and early 20th centuries, traveling exhibitions that displayed human beings with rare conditions as living curiosities. But behind the stage lights and applause were stories of courage, pain, and defiance. Tonight, we'll uncover the 7 real people whose lives were stranger and more powerful than fiction.
Number 1. Annie Jones, the bearded lady who redefined beauty. Born in 1865 in Virginia, Annie Jones came into the world with a full beard. By the age of 5, she was touring America under P.T. Barnum as the infant Esau. Crowds gasped, photographers fought to capture her image, and newspapers dubbed her the wonder of nature. But Annie wasn't a curiosity. She was intelligent, graceful, and fiercely aware of how she was being used. As she grew older, she transformed herself from a spectacle into a symbol, speaking publicly about dignity and self-worth. She demanded fair wages, refused demeaning titles, and urged Barnum to stop calling performers freaks. At a time when women's voices were often silenced, Annie Jones became one of the first female performers to take control of her own image. She proved that beauty wasn't about conformity, it was about courage.
Number 2. Isaac W. Sprague, the living skeleton. When Isaac Sprague was born in 1841, he was a healthy boy. But in his teenage years, something began to happen. He started losing weight. No matter what he ate, his body continued to waste away. By the time he was 25, he weighed just 43 pounds. Doctors had no explanation. He joined Barnum's American Museum in New York, billed as the living skeleton. People paid money to see him, not realizing he was fighting for survival. He once said, "They come to stare, but I stare back." Sprague lived with quiet dignity, raising a family and performing only to provide for them. He died in 1887, still a mystery to medicine, but remembered as a man who never let his frailty break his spirit.
Number 3. Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man. Perhaps the most famous of all was Joseph Merrick, born in Leicester, England in 1862. His body grew uncontrollably, his bones twisted, his skin thickened, and his head swelled to an enormous size. He was mocked, beaten, and abandoned. Eventually, he joined a traveling show as the Elephant Man, but behind the deformity was a gentle, poetic soul. In 1884, Merrick met Dr. Frederick Treves, who rescued him from abuse and offered him a home in the London hospital. There, Merrick spent his final years reading Shakespeare, building models, and writing letters. He once said, "I am not an animal, I am a human being." Joseph Merrick's story changed the way the world viewed physical difference, not as a curse, but as a test of compassion.
Number 4. Fedor Jeftichew, the dog-faced boy. In 19th century Russia, Fedor Jeftichew was born covered in thick hair, a rare condition called hypertrichosis. His father, also affected, performed as Adrian the Hairy Man. After his father's death, young Fedor joined Barnum's show in America,
where he was billed as Jojo the dog-faced boy. They dressed him in fur costumes, taught him to bark, and advertised him as half human, half dog. But behind the act was a polite, well-educated young man who spoke several languages and loved reading European literature. He died at just 35, but his image became iconic, a tragic symbol of how easily society turned humanity into spectacle.
Number 5. Julia Pastrana, the Ape Woman. Of all the stories from the freak show era, none is more heartbreaking than that of Julia Pastrana, born in Mexico around 1834. She had thick facial hair, a large jaw, and a genetic condition that caused her gums and lips to swell abnormally. She was kind, intelligent, and multilingual, yet promoters billed her as the ugliest woman in the world. Julia was forced to perform across Europe, singing and dancing while men laughed and women fainted. She married her own manager, who treated her cruelly. Tragically, Julia died in childbirth in 1860. Her husband then embalmed her body and continued exhibiting it for decades. Only in 2013, more than 150 years later, was Julia Pastrana finally returned to her homeland and given a proper burial in Mexico.
Number 6. Ella Harper, the Camel Girl. In 1870s Tennessee, Ella Harper was born with a rare orthopedic condition that caused her knees to bend backward. She walked on all fours, and the press dubbed her the Camel Girl. By 1886, she became one of the highest-paid performers in the business, earning $200 a week, equivalent to over $5,000 today. But Ella had dreams beyond the circus. After saving her money, she retired at 16 to go to school and pursue an education. She later disappeared from public life, leaving behind a legacy of quiet defiance. Ella's story reminds us that even those the world once mocked had the power to write their own ending.
Number 7. Prince Randian, the Human Torso. Born in British Guyana in 1871 without arms or legs, Prince Randian was brought to America by Barnum in 1889. He was billed as the Human Torso. Yet he could do everything: write, paint, shave, even roll cigarettes with his lips. Audiences gasped as he lit one himself. No hands, no help. He told reporters he was happy, proud, and loved being independent. Randian performed for 45 years, earning enough to raise a family and buy a home in New Jersey, rare independence for a showman of his time. He died in 1934, but his presence in early film, especially Freaks, 1932, immortalized him as one of the most remarkable men to ever live without limbs.